So Apos decided to be a Christian. So the goal of this video, it will be to show his complete hypocrisy by showing that reasons why he left Islam or thinks Islam is false is completely applicable to the Bible and Christianity.
Punishing apostates. Islam is the only major religion that we have today that clearly orders to kill everyone who leaves the faith. Also orders very clearly to kill apostates. That was practiced in history, and this law is to this day existent and applicable in quite a few countries. In some parts of our world, it's apparently not 2018 yet. Killing homosexuals. In the 21st century, we discover and recognize our individual rights further, at least in the free world, and begin to tolerate homosexuality and to allow same-sex marriages. Islam is, of course, strictly against any of that. It's therefore absurd that many people who also fight for the rights of homosexuals want to fight against Islamophobia and help paint the picture of a lovely Islam. Here are two things I want to tell such activists. Islam orders the death penalty for homosexuality. And secondly, followers of Islam are today by far the most homophobic religious group in the world, and they make that very clear. So supporting the rights of homosexuals and talking against Islamophobia is a big contradiction. No freedom of expression. I know this is a very big surprise, but Islam is very strict when it comes to opinions and speech. In Islam, it's very clear that whoever opposes or mocks Islam is to be punished, and that if a Muslim makes statements against Islam, he is to be treated as an apostate and killed. There are such examples, like fighting the unbelievers, death by torture, the killing of apostates and blasphemers, 4 wives, female genital mutilation, marital rape, wife beating, Islamic states, and so on. As you can see, Islam is much different from religions that we have. Century. Number 57. Stars fall down. The Quran tells us that the stars will fall down before the Day of Judgment. As we understand by now, the Quran's author thought that they were little objects, lights, missiles, and they could fall down on us. Modern interpreters try to explain this verse differently, but Muslims in fact believed that the stars would fall down on the earth. The Quran verse says nothing else. If we Number 48. The moon is a light. According to the Quran, Allah made the sun a torch and the moon a light, and the moon will go dark. The author of the Quran didn't know that the moon doesn't have its own light, that the moon is only brightened by the sun which shines on it, just like our planet Earth, which is only bright and has day when the sun shines on it. Otherwise the earth is dark. Likewise, the moon is by default dark. This is a disastrous error in the Quran. 1. The sun has a resting place. When it doesn't help us make calculations, the sun stops and rests somewhere. The Quran tells us that the sun runs towards its stopping point, or to be linguistically more accurate, to its fixed resting place. Translators and interpreters of the Quran are so embarrassed by this, they translate this as the sun runs for a fixed term. 35. Sky with pillars. Since the Quran thinks that the sky is this object above us, this ceiling, it also gives us another sign, which is that the sky just stands there by itself, without pillars, or without pillars that you can see. So maybe it has no pillars, maybe it does, and we can't see them. The point is, it doesn't need pillars. Here again, the Quran clearly implies that the sky is this object that should be standing on. Number 32. The sky folded up. Almighty Allah, author of the Quran, even tells us that he will fold up the sky with his right hand before the Day of Judgment and create everything anew. The Quran assumes again that the sky was an object that could be rolled up in Allah's right hand. Number 20. Allah sends rain from the sky. Allah sends rain down from the sky, from the ceiling. As before, Allah made rains or makes rains could probably be acceptable, even if that is completely absurd as well. But the Quran claims that Allah sends rains, just like winds, and tries to explain natural occurrences in supernatural ways. In the time of the creation of the Quran, people were aware that rainwater came from the clouds above. What they weren't aware of is that the water that comes down as rain is water that we have on the ground, that evaporates through heat and gathers in clouds just to come back again. Muhammad apparently thought Allah makes those clouds, of course, and sends one. The earth is flat. This is going to be long, but this is the most beautiful part of this entire collection. The flat earth. Let's read some Quran verses. Let's see how these sound. And it is he who spread the earth, and placed therein firmly set mountains and rivers. He causes the night to cover the day. And the earth, we have spread it, and cast therein firmly set mountains. He who made for you the earth a bed, and the sky a ceiling, and sent down.
According to the Bible, the earth is flat. Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and today, anyone with at least a primary school education and the capacity for critical thought knows that the earth is not flat. But that wouldn't become widely known until after the Bible had been completed, and some parts of the Bible were written before anyone knew that. It's around the 6th century BCE that we first have philosophers speculating about the possibility of a spherical earth. Folks like maybe Thales of Miletus and Pythagoras. And then in the 5th century BCE, we have folks like Parmenides and then later Aristotle who are asserting a spherical Earth and are also calculating the circumference of the globe and things like that. But this would primarily be the knowledge of the educated and the literate elites until after the Bible had been completed. So the authors of the Bible conceptualized a universe that looked something like this. When we look at all the different references to the Earth and geography and the heavens and the cosmos, and we cobble it all together, we get something like a disk of dry land surrounded by a ring of sea. And then on the outskirts of that ring of sea, we have a solid dome. And this dome exists to separate the chaotic waters above from the chaotic waters beneath. And then that is what allowed the waters to recede to reveal the dry land. And we see different ideas about where God dwells in relation to this cosmological model, but this seems to be how the biblical authors understood the cosmos. And there are folks who will argue that passages like Isaiah 40 verse 22 refer to the globe of the earth, but this is a misrepresentation of the Hebrew. That passage refers to the one who dwells above the chug of the earth. And this word chug only occurs a few times in the Hebrew Bible, but doesn't refer to a sphere or a globe. It refers to a circle. And probably the clearest indication of this is Proverbs 8:27, where it talks about God inscribing the chug upon the face of the waters. This would be the ring of waters. And so you cannot inscribe a sphere upon a two-dimensional plane, that is the surface of the waters. You inscribe a circle on the waters. So that is not support for the notion of a spherical earth. That is support for the notion of a disc-shaped earth. And we do have some Greco-Roman Jewish literature and early Christian literature that is more informed by Greek philosophical thinking, but none of it seems to escape the gravitational pull of this notion of a flat earth. So there are well-meaning folks out there trying to salvage the scientific accuracy of the Bible by suggesting that it promotes a spherical earth, but it does not. It very clearly promotes the notion that the earth is a flat disc.